Hello, artists. Congrats. Your class earned the privilege of getting to make your very own keychains using shrink film. The shrink film that we're going to use is a type of plastic, and it's about the size of a half sheet of paper. To start out, we're actually going to use our sketchbooks to create our planning sketch of whatever you want your keychain design to be. So on the next clean page in my sketchbook, I'm actually tracing the size of my shrink film so I know how big it needs to be. In my example here, I'm using the letters of my name for my keychain, but don't feel like that's what you have to do. You could draw anything that you want for your keychain design. Just make sure that you draw it nice and big because the shrink film does shrink quite a bit. Once you're done with your planning sketch and you're in love with your keychain design, you're going to lay your shrink film on top and use a Sharpie marker to trace over your pencil lines. You can always add extra details with the Sharpie that you didn't have before, but it's always good to plan those things out in pencil in your sketchbook first. Once you're done tracing with the Sharpie, we're going to add some color using colored pencils. Make sure that when you're using the colored pencils that you're coloring on the correct side of your shrink film. If you're coloring and the color isn't showing up, you're just coloring on the smooth side. And if that happens to you, just flip your shrink film over and color the opposite side. So these are a couple other designs that I was working on. You can kind of see how my planning sketch versus the final thing is coming out. I've got a little rocket ship and a flower here that I'm working on adding color to. And I also have a little kitty cat here. Notice that since my kitty cat is kind of short and wide, I decided to turn my shrink film so I was coloring short and wide, just like what I did with the bubble letters for my name. And I went with the Sharpie and I added some extra details like the little speech bubble and the collar for the kitty cat as well. So the main tips to keep in mind when you are using shrink film is use pencil first in your sketchbook or on a blank piece of paper. Draw big so that when it does shrink down, your image is still clear and easy to understand. Hold the shrink film the way you would hold your paper. So if you're drawing something tall and skinny like a flower, hold your shrink film tall and skinny. Use Sharpies and colored pencils only. Draw on the rougher side of your shrink film. It can be kind of tough to tell, but when you're using the colored pencils, if it's not showing up, you're using the wrong side. And make sure that if you are including letters, that they are big and easy to see. Then I'll take your shrink film home. I'll shrink it in my oven and it'll shrink down to about this size, about 25% of the original size of your shrink film. The plastic will also get a little bit thicker and firmer, and I'll add these little keychains to them as well. Now keep in mind they are still made of plastic, so if you do try to bend it or bang it against something, they will break. So just make sure that you're gentle with your keychains, and I hope you enjoy making them.